You're listening to Brandon Boost. Brandon Boost. Brandon Boost. Brandon Boost.
Welcome.
I forgot for a moment what the podcast was called. Welcome back to episode 2 of Brandon Boost podcast. As the last one was a roaring success.
Yeah, millions of likes,
Millions of subscribers in our first episode.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done it better.
We've got sponsorship by Greg's. We haven't.
We have pallet line.
We've got an addiction to Greg's.
We do have an addiction to Greg's. If we could set up a Patreon account for our Greg's habit.
It's just a charity, isn't it? It's really pitiful, to be honest.
So just to recap on what the podcast is for. So we're going to have lots of interesting industry experts coming on, talking about things like marketing, legal. Got some finance guys coming in and gals. There's some brands that have experienced a lot of the good, the bad, the roller coaster of journeys, and hopefully you can take some of that on board and some snippets of interest. So we've got all of that coming up, and I think we're aiming to do this around once a week.
Mm-hmm.
So check in every week. Be sure to hit subscribe. Just to lead off, this episode is all about starting your business, what you need to think about, sort of some of the structures around
If you're
setting up.
thinking of setting up a business.
Yeah, if you're thinking about setting up a little side hustle maybe.
Yeah.
But before we do all that, I wanted to know from you about mindset.
Now, I thought we were leaving this like till the end.
No, let's go straight in with mindset. This is from my experience as well as a business owner of multiple businesses. It is a struggle. It is a emotional and mental struggle.
Mm-hmm.
You get good times, you get bad times. It can feel very lonely. It can be hard to be motivated. Sort of, I'm really selling this to you, but it's just like life, basically. However, if you have the right kind of mindset and some tools, then you can hopefully overcome some of these things. And Leah here has, a fair bit of experience on mindset. She's watched a lot of videos and done quite a few talks and been to some educational seminars. So how do you consider, what is mindset and how does it impact people?
I don't think I'm very qualified on this. I think I'm more like an enthusiast, not an expert. I think mindset is linked to like being self-aware. So when you're self-aware, you kind of like listening to your thoughts, and it's getting to that point when you can recognize if a thought's like a positive thought or a negative thought. So if it's negative, it's usually like limiting, and if it's positive, like good for you, then it's kind of like an unlimited thought. So there's unlimited potential with that. Whereas negative thoughts stop you from doing a lot of things, can cause you a lot of stress. Stress can lead to like physical health problems, and
Is there any tools or sort of experiences that you think people could look for, or places where we could signpost them?
There's a lot of like free resources out there. You can troll the internet to find different things, because the thing is with mindset, everyone's mind is different. Not everyone's mind is going to fit one particular like practice or ritual or whatever you want to call it.
You've got to find something that works for you.
Yeah, because everyone's unique. That's the thing. That's why like traditional like psychology and things, I find that too limiting, because it doesn't encompass an individual. It encompasses like a mental state rather than that person. And
I think as well, you have to sort of look at your character. So are you someone who procrastinates a lot? Are you someone who doesn't acknowledge your own successes and reward? Are you the eternal optimist? There's lots of different things, but it's not really a pros and cons or weaknesses or strengths, but we all see the world slightly differently and we see our challenges slightly differently. And it certainly is important to acknowledge your daily wins, and sort of, sometimes it feels like a hard slog and an uphill struggle. And, it's not like plain sailing or growing up. Quite a lot of the time, there's a cliff and then there's a hill and then there's a slippery bit. Your journey is
It takes,
turbulent.
yeah,
But you need to sort of look at things. So myself, when I've looked at things, I know I can be a procrastinator because at the same time I can be a bit of a perfectionist. So I don't want to do anything, release anything that isn't perfect. But perfection to who is the first sort of question in my thing.
Procrastination is usually formed from fear, so it's that fear of like failing or fear of not living up to an expectation kind of thing.
Yeah. Someone told me recently about sort of setting a tolerance. This is just for sort of procrastination and perfectionism and things. A tolerance that I would accept of actually stepping back. This is good enough to get it to, you know, something. And in terms of like investment and things like that, you have what they call MVP, a minimum viable product, and that's usually all you've got to do just to sort of prove that you can do it. And in particular with starting a business, if you spend too long, you may never launch or you may miss the boat. And quite often it's sort of about getting something live and rolling with it, much like this podcast. But yeah, I mean, I think mindset is an important thing.
It is. I think it's becoming too much of a trend. So I think people are like missing the points, because again, it's in the individual things. So if you're watching loads of videos, like, you've got to kind of figure out what works for you. Just because it's working for someone else, it might not necessarily work for you.
We all have our experiences and struggles. We all go about problems in a different way.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think as well is getting as many people involved in what you want to do. It's always a bit tricky with starting a business, especially if you've got an idea. People can be, well, there's two sides. One, you could be scared they're going to steal your idea, which generally is an unfounded fear, because many people could have already invented it or do it. There's reasons why they haven't done it. Most inventions have been invented already, generally. And also some people don't like the fact that parents, colleagues, friends may say, you know, don't bother, stick to your day job, you don't have the experience, all of these kind of negative fears. But if you can try and involve, you know, close friends and colleagues and things, and sort of explain your idea, sort of get their feedback quite quickly, bring them on in the journey, you can kind of get really good experiences from that.
See, I'm different in that then, because it's not that, like, a lot of people I know, they're kind of in a certain mindset where they're used to, like, whatever they've learned, their surroundings and environment and things. So if you try and strive outside of that, they look at you a bit like, what are you doing? Yeah. That's not going to work. So with me, if I do something now, at least, I just kind of dive into it and then tell people about it. Because I think oftentimes telling people about it, that kind of loses the momentum.
Yeah, there was a bit of research, apologies, I can't remember who said it recently. I think it was Dr. Karen on TikTok, if I remember right. But it was about, there was a part of, if you tell people about your idea and things, you kind of get your endorphin hit when you tell them, and you kind of spend that reward in advance, and therefore when you actually hit those milestones, you don't feel as successful or empowered or happy about those things, and you have to keep striving for more and more and more, which can also be a big problem in business, in that you never acknowledge that you've done well, which is important. So there are a whole mixture of pros and cons on everything. There's a flip side to everything. Yeah, you've definitely got to, I think, find what works. But I think the more effort you make into looking into mindset or strategies or how you feel, the more reflection you do, that's generally only a good thing. As long as you come at it from a good place. Don't sort of try and bring external negatives in, though it can be hard to get over that sometimes.
And then you kind of put those into your business as well. If you're going through, like, stress in your personal life, it's good to kind of resolve that, otherwise it will affect your work and things like that. So yeah. No,
I think that it's fair, and you know, you want to give your business a good shot and a sort of stable environment. It often isn't possible. You know, a lot of people have got families and kids and work and jobs. Yeah, you just got to do what you can. But do try and sort of set yourself some aims, write down how you've got on, all your rewards and things, and just keep a look. But do try and keep positive. It will be hard, but the rewards are definitely there.
I think it's not positivity, it's just knowing that it's a problem.
Yeah.
So there's always like a solution thing.
There is definitely a solution. So, how do we set up a business?
In my experience, from the 2 businesses that I have set up, one, I let you kind of do all the things so I could learn. And then the second one, I don't know, I just kind of got whim to register it. I'd already kind of set it up. That's what I mean. I try and just take action and then think about it after, which isn't
Which can be good and can be,
best.
can be good and can be bad. It's
Yeah, it
always
works for
worthwhile
me.
seeking advice on important areas.
Yeah, for things that you're not familiar with, that's where other people can kind of benefit. And
I mean, we're definitely not legal advisors or accountants. But yeah, I mean, there's different types of businesses and entities that you can set up, all of which are actually pretty simple. The most common being sole trader or limited company. The most fundamental difference is a sole trader is you and only you. You are the face, you are the brand, you are the legal entity. A limited company is effectively a new being. It acts as a person, it can obviously employ people. It is a separate thing, it has its own legals and sort of financial things. It can be beneficial to do a limited company because it can protect you, not exclusively, because if you do really mess up or do something you shouldn't, people can still come after you as a director. But it is a separate entity from yourself. You can be employed by it, even as a director. You can be removed by the company potentially if you're no longer a shareholder. But limited companies are generally the most common these days, and they don't cost a lot to set up. I don't know if you remember how much yours cost to set up.
so I did mine through Tide. So some of the fees and things were kind of waived because of their scheme.
Yeah.
But I think because this is what I'm trying to resolve at the minute. So you can, if you're like an online business, you can, instead of using your home address, because
Yeah.
I like to keep my personal life private and things.
Well, just so on that, like, there's 2 sides. I mean, a sole trader, you have to put down who you are. You can say that you are
Joe Blogs.
Joe Blogs trading as something. We didn't really use a name, but Sally's Painter and Decorators, or trading as Sally's Painter and Decorator, and Sally Smith is the name. So your name is going to be on there, and you would generally have to use your home address or similar for any legal documents. The benefit of a limited company is that you don't have to do that, albeit your details are stored and available publicly for this. However, they've now made things called sale and sort of service addresses, so you can sign up as a registered office elsewhere. It doesn't have to be your home or office. It can be a completely different place.
It's almost like a PO box.
Yeah, it is essentially a PO box. You have to use certain places. You can't just use a standard PO box. It has to be a registered office.
I think mine was about 150.
Yeah,
I think.
it all depends on whether you want, any extra services, whether you want them to forward your post to you, to scan it to you, things like that.
I think for online businesses, the benefit of that is you're not putting your home address.
Yeah.
'Cause, like with certain like apps and things, so with Twitter, I know they've done their Twitter spotlight. So if you're a registered business and you want to have that spotlight feature, you do need to put an address.
Okay.
So not a lot of people want to put their, unless like it's well known that you operated from home and things.
Yeah.
Same with Instagram, if you put your address on that, it's just ideal. It just gives you a bit more privacy, I think.
The other obviously aspect of running a company either way is if you're a sole trader and you're selling, you need to look at the aspects of an HMRC, whether you become self-employed and do self-assessment. As a limited company, you can be employed by the company and don't necessarily have to be do a self-assessment, but it depends on how much you get paid and how you get paid. You do a yearly check with them where you pay Companies House, and then obviously you do have to file accounts with Companies House and HMRC. If your business has not traded at all, you can do it as a dormant company, where you basically say we didn't sell anything. It's just a very basic account, but you do need to do that. And with limited companies, if you're going to forget that you've made one because you're not using it, if you don't then comply and update HMRC and Companies House, you will be fined. But you can check it any time just by going to Companies House, and it will tell you all of the various checks and things that you need. But as soon as you get going, it's obviously worthwhile getting an accountant who should be able to assist with end of year accounts, annual returns, things like that. There are other types, things like partnerships for LLPs. Obviously public limited companies are generally much bigger companies that trade on the stock market. Partnerships are fine. They're more similar to sole trader, though you can get limited liability partnerships, which are more likely to be accountants or lawyers who generally use that type. They're generally more complex, and you would generally be better off going with a specific company for that. But yeah, sole trader and limited company are by far the most common, and limited companies are not at all scary.
No.
And as Leah said, currently Tide are doing an offer where you can do most of it for free. Yeah. So Tide, in case you haven't heard of them, Tide are a financial institution, I think they call themselves. So they're not a bank, unlike Starling or NatWest, HSBC and all the rest. Generally, you won't notice any different. They still give you a card. You still can put money in it, money out, direct debits, all of that. They are very good for small to sort of medium businesses. If you're just getting started, they're really good. They've got good customer service. But they are a financial institution and not a bank, so you may need to do some research around that. It's all due to how the money is secured.
The benefits of Tide, that's why I went with Tide, is they automatically register you on Company House.
Yeah.
Whereas if you went with, some bankings have that where they will just automatically do it, but yeah, that's why I use Tide.
So if you want to check them out, say go to our website, go to the partners section under rapidpack.co.uk. We've got lots of different partners and things on there, companies that we use ourselves and do recommend. We don't put anything on there that we haven't tried and tested and used, and Rapid Pack as a company does use Tide, as many other companies I've worked with before does, and they've been very good.
How do you market your business?
Is that a question? Well, you're the marketing expert.
Yes, you can hire someone to do the marketing. I think the key things to remember is marketing is getting the brand out there, so it's all about brand awareness and what routes you take to make people aware of your brand. So you can do traditional marketing, which is flyers, TV adverts, newspaper articles, billboards. Those would be traditional routes to marketing. Word of mouth is also a traditional one. More commonly now it's digital marketing, so email campaigns, content marketing, social media marketing, SEO, keywords, all that kind of thing.
It's a bit following on as well from our previous podcast about building up there's obviously the company's brand and then you maybe as the brand, with Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Be Real and any of the other social media platforms. You're building up that story about yourself, the why you do things, your ethos. Maybe consider writing down your value proposition and what values your brand has, because they can be good to sort of pin a lot of your content on. Are you very environmentally friendly? Are you vegan based? Are you all about growth? Are you going, very down a sport avenue, whatever it might be, or your local community, whatever. Maybe if you write those values down to 4 or 5 values and what they mean to you, and then you can build a lot of your marketing campaigns around that, because that allows your potential customers to kind of resonate with it and chime with it. And what we've certainly found with the brands that we work with and ship for, sort of being reasonably niche and specific to sort of your target market, those kind of brands do particularly well, rather than someone who sells to everyone. If you market to everyone, you sell to no one. It's kind of the phrase. But yeah, there's lots of different ways of doing it now. Some of the traditional advertising is interesting to look at. Obviously billboards and TVs are expensive, but when other companies are shifting to digital marketing in more and more ways, it can be worthwhile looking at some of the more traditional ways. Direct mail and postcards, for example, can work well because there's a lot less post than there used to be, so that can work out.
I think the thing with leaflets, why they still have an effect on people, is because it's a tangible thing, opposed to digital, where you just kind of scroll past and that's it, gone.
Obviously, I think the big thing is it depends on your type of business. So if you think about the companies that still send out leaflets, it's things like the Domino's and the Papa John's, which shows because people stick it and attach it to their fridge. So if you've got a similar service-based business as a florist or a local grocer's, things where local, I think some physical, tangible, touchable thing is a good marketing thing. If it's on Facebook, you might just forget it. If your target market is obviously more national, then that might not work so well. But that's when digital marketing and email marketing, nurturing your potential customers. It's always good to get friends and family involved in your first sort of few sales.
It is and it isn't. Like, yeah, some of your friends and family want you to do well, but like they're not going to be a repetitive.
No, they won't. But
customer. They're like, yeah, I'll support you for the first bit, and then.
Bit of a bugbear of mine, actually.
Yeah.
I think we should all support our friends and things a little bit more, rather than everyone just shopping on Amazon. But they do make it awfully convenient.
But this is why it's important to market then. So what makes you different to the sellers on Amazon? That's why with digital marketing, social media marketing more, it's really important to kind of show who you are, like as a person, make yourself relatable as possible. And it does tend to kind of do better than the nice photos and like the flashy ads and graphics.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure, if you think about some of the recent accounts that you might follow on TikTok or Instagram, you are often going to know who the business owner is because you will have seen them doing lives and photos. Whereas if I was to say who is the boss of Tesco's or Marks and Spencer's, most people would not have a clue. And this, even if they did, it means nothing. You are your strongest asset, and you are the only one who is really going to be shouting from the rooftops about your brand all the time. So yeah, 100% Leah, that is the way. So building that brand and that story around you, what is it that resonates with you? Tell them your struggles. Scary, but it is effective.
Human.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly I think since COVID, people have wanted that sort of connection.
Community.
Well, if you think during COVID and lockdowns, people were very lonely and alone. So people found a wider community and they found different things that interest them online.
That's why TikTok took off. TikTok took off.
TikTok.
Say that 10 times faster.
Yeah, I mean, video works really well. The good thing with social media, as it has been for a long time, is it is free. You'll get limited results. TikTok currently you get better results on because it is newer. Their algorithms are slightly more favourable. I've no doubt that will become harder, as it has always been. Twitter, you used to be able to build up a following, then Facebook, and then Instagram. Big brands like Gymshark have come through Instagram when it was basically free and you weren't having to pay for ads, whereas now it's nigh on impossible to get sort of good exposure on Instagram.
But that's why you use the other social media platforms to, wherever you want your people to kind of find you, use as many different avenues for them, like to push them towards where you want them to work, where you want
you've got to think about where you want to be, but also exactly where your customers are hanging out. So this could also be on blogs and Reddit and other sort of forum-based things. The other network as well, don't discount LinkedIn. Gen Z have now found LinkedIn and are Gen Z-ing it up.
I blame Gary Vee for that, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn has improved a lot. I've no doubt this podcast will be showing on some LinkedIn. Businesses are on LinkedIn, but also so are your potential customers. But even if you're quite a sort of business-to-business type business, the triple Bs, it's good to be on TikTok as well because that's where your customers will also hang out after. So again, where to find us? Where can people learn a bit about Rapid Pack?
If you'd like to know more about us, you can head to our website, which is www.rapidpack.co.uk. Everything and anything is on there, so all of our social media links, our blog section, more information about what we do as a company. I will be adding Ben's bio as well, so you can stalk him and...
Bio, not bio.
Wow, bottle it up, I don't know.
OnlyFans.
Well, that's probably next year's marketing plan, I think.
OnlyFans. Okay.
Yeah,
if this doesn't work,
packing videos.
OnlyFans. So we've got our videos and we've got our bit of podcast on there as well. Obviously, if you're on the podcast, make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, leave us some feedback as well. So if you go to our Twitter or YouTube,
all of them.
yeah, if you
LinkedIn,
find us,
YouTube, TikTok, Be Real, all of them.
Are we on there?
We are. We're probably also on Bieber and MySpace. Do they still exist? Anyway, Face Party, losing all our younger viewers now. MSN? No.
It was Yahoo Mail, wasn't it?
AOL. Yeah.
Remember letters? Remember the written letters where you write?
Yeah, but unfortunately we covered that in our last podcast. That's Royal Mail and they're struggling.
Oh.
So, get a pen pal. CFAX.
Teletext.
Teletext. Teletext pen pals.
Oh my god.
That's going to resonate with some people.
The postcards, we used to do that at school. Send
Yeah,
postcards.
I had a pen pal, which I wrote on my typewriter, and I'm not 80 years old. So be sure to check us out next week. We've got some industry experts and some great content around marketing and finance. So check us out.